Okay, Shalom, giving all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem HaRakah Kwadash. I want to give double honors to the elders apostles and our bishops, elder bishops of Great Millstone. Shalom to who you reference to as the hopeful elect. My name is Lamadia for the New York camp, and this is going to be a response to the brother video he did entitled Mental Illness, Demons Are Real. I'm going to show you the video in a second. But before I begin, just want to speak on this fact with in regards of mental health. Because like as we always, we speak on, mental health is actually spirits or people possessed by spirits. Some have stronger demons than others. Some people, as you'll see, they're more functional than others, whereas you got people that's bugged out, and they can't do for their own. You'll see them eating out the garbage can, or they'll walk, or they'll pass by you, and there'll be a strong stench of like decomposing tissue, or they might smell like urine or shit. That's because they possessed by demons. So now in this brother's video, the brother name is Yahweh. He did a video based on his interaction with a Jake that live in the neighborhood. He sees him all the time, and he noticed that he was searching through the trash can and eating food out the trash can. So he decided to offer him some food. The man declined and responded, let me do what I want to do. So, so that was pretty much this brother's video. The brother's pretty upset about it, but it is what it is. You can't be too upset about it. Jake is gone, and that's part of the curses we in. Going back to the Deuteronomy. Matter of fact, let's read it. Deuteronomy 28. Here we go. Deuteronomy 28 and 28. The Lord shall smite thee with madness. And madness is insanity or trauma. We're going to look that word up in a second. And blindness and astonishment of heart. So that's why Jake is gone. That's why Jake is bugged out more than any other any other nation you see. Like those bug outs you see that's usually bugging the hell out, having episodes 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, pushing people on a train track, begging. It usually 9 out of 10 is Jake. Is one of the tribes, because it goes back to the curses. And the Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in the darkness. Now, you have functional bug outs. You got Jake that's looking for answers, and then everybody know that Jake that he dove into every fucking religion, and he got locked up. He became a Muslim. He was a 5%er. Then he might be a Rasta for a period of time, and then he might dove into something else. But he's all over the place. He might be into the African Afro-Central community, and all these doctrines may contradict itself with, and that's what you call what's that word? when you have two opposing views. It's gonna come to me later. But you know, the point is that falls under being bugged out. Give me 1 second. Oh, there you go. That's what I was thinking about. Cognitive dissonance. So cognitive dissonance is when a person have two strong opposing views that contradict each other. So that's falls under under madness and blindness. So verse 29, and thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind grope it in darkness. That's them searching around for answers. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoil you evermore, and no man shall save thee. Yeah, and no man have deliver us, because the only one that's gonna take on this task is Yahweh Shah. So Yahweh Shah is gonna be the one that deliver us, and it's gonna begin with the elect. So I mentioned this word cognitive dissonance. Not you gave me communist. That's not what I wanted, but there you go. Cognitive dissonance. So cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort or psychological stress appearance when a person simultaneously holds two or more contradictory beliefs, values, or attitudes, or when their behavior contradicts their beliefs. Like you see that all the time with Jake. Jake might say, he's a Muslim and he against pork, but then he's eating pork, or he eating something that has pork in it. Or he might say, yeah, he's a Muslim, he don't eat pork. Pork is an unclean animal, but then he eating fucking crabs, shrimps, and lobster, another unclean animal. So that's what fall in the cognitive dissonance. When a person have two opposing strong values, like you see, hey man, like we say it all the time. Majority of the 2/3 got to be women, because anyone that's more susceptible to demons are women, and I see it all the time. Like if um if cognitive dissonance was a person, it'll be the black woman. Like you hear the black woman speak about how she'll talk about it, a woman should not have sex with every man, but then say something totally completely opposite. Like I'm talking about these so-called Christians and so-called religious. They'll say these things, but then they'll they'll say some adultery shit following right after. Either you're gonna keep your legs closed or you're not gonna keep it closed. But that's cognitive dissonance. And and Jake got spirits on him, man. And a lot of it comes from trauma. Now, let's look at this word trauma. Trauma and psychology. Trauma psychology is a subfield of psychology that studies the lasting mental, emotional, and physical effect of distressing events. I'm gonna read that again. So trauma psychology is the subfield of psychology that studies the lasting mental, emotional, and physical effects of the stressing effects. So in other words, a person may had went through a traumatic event as a child, but it leaves around lasting effects. Because one thing is, growing up in Babylon, you will not grow up in Babylon unscathed. Even, us in the truth, we have trauma. We constantly fighting, battling demons, and checking ourselves, and trying to be more self-aware so you don't offend other brothers, because this is things we have to work on. You know, going under demons. It's just that we have self-awareness that demons is attacking us, attacking our minds. So I want to read it one more time for the third time. So trauma psychology, which the word psych means mind, and ology means the study of the mind, is a subfield of psychological that studies the lasting mental, emotional, and physical effect of distressing events. A case in point, a lot of these, these lesbians, where they call them a butch, a dyke, a stud, whatever they want to call themselves today, and they dress up in boys' clothes. In most cases, I'm not saying in every case, but majority, a good 80% of them was probably molested or touched when they was young or as adolescents, and that fucked them up mentally to the point where it's disturbing for them to even date a man, because they was violated as a child. So every time a man make a pass at them, or a man try to talk to them, they relive these events again. And that's how demons, because when a person get very emotional, demons will attract themselves, or attach themselves to you. And that's why a lot of these women have these demons on them. So it says, such as violence, natural disasters, or abuse that overwhelm an individual coping abilities. And that become a way for them to cope. Because it just don't be a man just, violating them. It be a man, maybe it might have been her stepfather touching her when her mother was at work, and he was watching her coming into the room at night, and it'll go on for a while. Sometimes, in certain cases, it's a older cousin or a father, and they get messed up in the head. So the way they cope with it, or the way them demons come and enter into them, and giving the mind frame, well, you don't want to deal with men. You be more safer with women or dating women. So that lesbian demon would jump on her. Same thing with some of these men. Some of these men is on the DL. Some of these men, when they was little boys, their mother used to let them play, dress up in her clothes. And them demons, that homosexual demon, jump on them. So that overwhelm an individual coping abilities. So trauma, which the word trauma really means wound. And when a person is wounded, they develop a natural defense system to protect themselves from being vulnerable again. That's why you see coping abilities. It focuses on understanding trauma induced disorders like PTSD. And a lot of J got PTSD. Um, a lot of the time PTSD is associated with war veterans, but you got Jake that grew up in the hood. They got PTSD because the hood is a battleground. And it says how they change brain function, hyperactive amygdala, and developing therapeutic interventions for recovery. Let me try something else. Let me get a more basic trauma. Mm. I used to be able to find the etymology of words, but Google changed the whole format. Let's click here. Okay, so trauma originates from the ancient Greek word tromo, meaning wound. So that's all you need. So the word trauma really means to be wounded. And like I said, when you growing up in Babylon, especially for Jake, because Jake is always a target. You don't grow up unscathed. Now look at the word unscathed definition. Try something else. Okay. Unscathed is an adjective meaning completely unharmed or uninjured or undamaged, typically after a dangerous, difficult, or negative experience. That will be a trauma. It implies escaping a situation without damage, whether physically, emotionally, or reputationally. So Jake, you know, they had these traumatic experiences, and they become mentally damaged or mentally wounded. Let me read. I want to read something. This is Sirach, or the book of Ecclesiasticus 25 and 13. Give me any plague but the plague of the heart. The plague of the heart is the mind. Because once you lose your ability to have discernment, that's you pretty much dead. So it says, give me any plague but the plague of the heart, and any wickedness but the wickedness of a woman. Now you notice how the plague of the heart is mentioned along with the wickedness of a woman, because a lot of men, they lose their mind from a wicked woman. They get with a woman, the woman, you get with the woman, they grow some sort of attachment with the woman, and for whatever reason, let's say she step out, mess around with another man, and sometimes that man is never the same after that. He gets so emotionally damaged. So sometimes guys, they turn to drugs. They turn to all these things to numb down the pain. Like a man could get with a woman, have kids, she take the kids, and he just loses his mind. And that's why a lot of Jake is on drugs, because that's a coping mechanism. And with a lot of these drugs, is laced with fentanyl, and either fentanyl will kill you or it will damage you in the head. That's why you see a lot of Jake with schizophrenia. I want to excuse me. I want to take a. Let's do this right. I want to play this video. Jake suffer from schizophrenia, and that's another demon. So, this Israelite woman, a sister, but she's not in the truth, of course. Name is Dr. Tracy Marks, and there's a lot of women won't be in psychology, or they take up psychology because they know they be bugged out themselves, and they be trying to understand themselves. But let me let this play.
What is schizophrenia? That's what I'm talking about today. I'm Dr. Tracy Marks, a psychiatrist, and this channel is about mental health, education, and self-improvement. If you don't want to miss an episode, click subscribe and the notification bell. This video is based on a viewer question from Joe PR. Very informative video, as always, Dr. Marks. Could you do a video on schizophrenia and its treatment? I would find it educative to have a psychiatrist's opinion on what is probably the most stigmatized mental illness in modern society. Thank you. Thank you, Joe PR, for that question. Schizophrenia is the most serious disorder that we have in psychiatry. It's much more than with psychosis. You're not able to tell what's real and what's not real. I'll link a video in the corner that I did on psychosis. You can have psychotic symptoms like hallucinations for different reasons, like having a reaction to a steroid medication, just as an example. But with schizophrenia,
notice she mentioned about hallucinating. Hallucinations is something you commonly see when you see Jake bugging out, because you see him, Jake, like bugging out in the street, punching the wall, screaming out loud, having these outbursts. Believe it or not, a lot of them are schizophrenic, and they probably was diagnosed with schizophrenia. They probably was given meds, but they didn't take the meds, so they having these episodes.
There are several symptoms, and here's how we define the illness using the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition. You have to have 2 of the 5 psychotic symptoms: delusions, convinced that they're wrong. And this is more than believing you're the best at soccer, because that's subjective. This would be something from the outer quadrant of your calf. Hallucinations. These can affect any of your 5 senses. The more common hallucinations, though, are auditory, which are hearing things that aren't there, and visual, which are seeing.
That's because they seeing and hearing things that is not there, because they're being tormented by demons.
Hallucinations happen when you're completely alert, awake, and clear. This does not include hallucinations that anyone can have when you're falling asleep or waking up. Disorganized thinking. We call this a formal thought disorder.
That's all I need to play on there. I want to show you another video. Now, in this video, bear with me.
I'm a trauma holder. This woman has more than 2,000
Oh, there
personalities.
you go. So this is a woman with multiple personality disorder. They changed the name of this mental illness. I believe is what do they call it? So I forget it. I won't even try to remember it. But so she has 2,000 personalities. So that's over like 2,000 demons channeling through her body and taking over the will. Because each demon have his own personality. So I'm gonna let it play.
Meet Jenny and Symphony.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Symphony.
Hi, Symphony.
Hi.
And Ricky.
You haven't come to arrest me, have you?
And Muscles.
Hello.
Hi, Muscles.
Hi.
And thousands more, all living inside one body. But why? How does one person have 2,000 personalities? This is Jenny Haynes. When Jenny was just 4 years old, she was abused by her father. She did not understand what was happening to her. She was just a kid. It was too traumatic.
You see that? She was abused by her father. Now hold on.
So she created an alternative personality. This is Jenny Haynes.
It doesn't go into detail, but she probably was sexually abused.
Hello.
Hi, Muscles.
Hi.
And thousands more, all living inside one body. But why? How does one person have 2,000 personalities? This is Jenny Haynes. When Jenny was just 4 years old, she was abused by her father. She did not understand what was happening to her. She was just a kid. It was too traumatic. So she created an alternative personality who would deal with the pain and the trauma instead of her. That's how Symphony.
That alternative personality was a demon entering inside her. And it comes in as a thought.
Was born.
That's my job. My job is to deal with Daddy.
Then she felt she needed protection, someone to look out for her.
I'm much more of a get up and do it kind of a guy.
A lot of people think that DID is a made-up disease, but Jenny's story is proof that DID is a real thing. That behind every person with a personality disorder, there's someone in pain that deserves love and respect from you, from me.
That's what it's called, dissocial personality disorder. They renamed it from multiple personality disorder or dissocial personality disorder.
From all of us. This woman has more than 2,000 personalities.
Okay, want to read Psalms 34. I'm gonna start at 17. The righteous cry, and the Lord heareth, and delivereth them out of their troubles. Now, the righteous is who? That's the believers of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. And you know, we constantly being attacked and you know being tormented by demons, but we have the scriptures. And the Lord gave us the scriptures for us to combat, you know, these spirits. So it says, the righteous cry, and the Lord heareth it, and delivered them out of their troubles. The Lord is nigh unto them. The Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart. And we all Israel is of a broken heart. And it says, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. But the Lord is only going to be with the ones that is righteous, because all Israel is not righteous. Give me 1 second. All right, verse 19. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua delivereth him out of them all. Like sometimes demons may attack you financially. You might be low on funds, and then you know that's when your car break down, or you know whatever. But that's is all a demon. That's the point. Sometimes demons may, you know, jump in your mind and remind you of things that happened to you in the past. You know, whether you in the hood, you got jumped, whatever. That's all demons. Sometimes demons sometimes try to make you have a perception on a person. Demons. But you have to fight it off. Matter of fact, let me go to it. 1 Corinthians. Salakia, 2 Corinthians. I'm gonna start at 3. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. Now we're in the flesh, but we don't have impulsive responses, because even when you're being targeted, as a demon targeting you through another person. A person may try to agitate you, get under your skin. A random person may just, start fucking with you. And in your mind, you might want to put the beats on that person, but it's demons. That's why it's the best thing to do is to remain spiritual. So it says, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. That's what it means to be carnal. Carnal means to be impulsive, acting off the flesh. The word carnal is from the Latin meaning flesh. Also, another example of being carnal, that's a person that needs to see something, because your eyes is comprised of the flesh. You need to touch something for it to be factual. That's all. That's of the flesh. Like, there's people that say things like, for them to believe God is real, they need to see God. That would be a carnal mind frame, because your eyes is comprised of the flesh. Same thing with Thomas. Thomas said, for him to believe that Yahushua was raised from the dead, he'll need to see Yahushua and put his finger through Yahushua's womb. But that was a carnal mind frame. So it says, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. Meaning, our weapons, we don't have Glocks and sniper rifles, swords, because what we engaged in is a spiritual battle. But it says, but mighty through the Most High to the pulling down of strongholds. Now, in ancient time, they would set up strongholds. Now, the strongholds was set up as a place of refuge. And the scripture said what? For my people have made lies their refuge, which is demon. That's why, when we start breaking down these lies, they start getting defensive. They don't want to hear the truth, because lies is what make them feel safe. You telling them that America's about to fall, and and possibly by 2027, they don't want to hear that. In their mind, like, well, they invested so much into their life here for retirement, for all these different things. They had these long and short-term goals for the future, and they don't want to hear this place is falling. But rather to turn into the Most High, they dismiss the truth. Now it says, casting down imaginations. Your imagination is hallucinations, because you're seeing something that's not real. That's why we say all the time, to receive the American dream, you have to be asleep, because it doesn't exist. It's a hallucination. So it says, casting down imagination and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, and bring it into captivity every thought to the obedience of Yahushua. There's Proverbs 18 and 14. The spirit of a man will sustain his infirmities. Now, sustain means to have strength. An infirmity is it could be a physical weakness or mental weakness. But if a person have a strong spirit, he may be able to deal with it. But it says, but a wounded spirit who can bear. Now, wounded again means trauma. Because you got Jake, they traumatized and they bugged out. They're so far gone, you can't speak logic to them. You can't teach them the scriptures. That's how far gone they are, you know. You talking, that person drooling, that person hallucinating, there's nothing you could do with them. And that's a scary thing because, you know, especially, you know, like guys that used to be once a part of us for whatever reason, they got disenchanted, went back into the world, they got kicked out, and rather going out there and continue to cheat, you just, you know, stayed in the world. So if you do that, you become more susceptible to spirits, these demons. Let's go to Isaiah 53. We'll start at 3. He is despised and rejected of men. Now the he is referencing to Yahushua. And that's what happened 2,000 years ago when Yahushua came on the scene. And it says, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid as it was our faces from him. He was despised and we esteemed him not. Now I want to pull up the word griefs.
Strong's H 2483. Holy.
That's kalaya. Meaning sickness or disease. Because the sickness and disease is talking about our sins. And Yahushua, he carried our sicknesses, our spiritual sicknesses, which is sin. That's why it says he is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. Meaning he took on our sicknesses and we hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised and we esteem him not. That's the 2/3. They despised him. Surely he had borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of the Most High, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. Talking about Yahushua again. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. So we all carry in trauma, but guess what? Through Yahushua's stripes we are healed. And the way Yahushua is coming to us is through his word, and the word is healing us. And last, I'll close with this, because you got to constantly, you know, lean on Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, because that's all we have in these last days is the truth and the name. And, you know, in the brotherhood, but the main thing is the name. So I'm going to read this Philippians 4 and 6. It says, be careful for nothing. Now that means being overly anxious, anxiety, because now anxiety means to worry, but then you have like anxious, that's when a person overly worrying to the point where it begins to interfere in their life. So it says, be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known unto the Most High. And our request that is being made known is our prayers. So we're not to worry about anything because we're heavily protected as long as we continue to do the right thing and call upon the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. So that concludes the video. Lord willing, this video was edifying. I'm gonna say Kolayim Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Ba'ashem Harakab Kodash Shalom.